Good, so we're here and I'm going to talk about EasyBuild 5. The very observant or who were with us last year will note that this is entirely the same title slide as last year, and hopefully I've opened the right slides and we're going to have this year's talk. So information, going to talk about what's been implemented, what we aim to implement in the next couple of months, a little bit about policy changes, also hoping to provide why we're doing things, why, particularly where we're talking about deprecating things for the future or breaking changes, we'll tell you why, what we're trying to do. And also, obviously, an important one, tell you how you can contribute, including a hands-on session with some notes. You'll see this sort of bit at the bottom right of the screen. Here it says information. There are some other ones that will come up. Breaking change. There aren't too many of those, but that's a change in how EasyBuild works. And that will be, please do something. You will, to use EasyBuild 5, you will have to make a change to do something. But as I said, there aren't too many in that category. The bigger section is enhancements, new features, things that will make your life better or make our life better developing. And the bottom one, code changes. That's where we've, code cleanup. That's where we've basically improving our life by managing to get rid of a bunch of code there. Though some of those sort of imply breaking changes because we've removed a few things. So EasyBuild major versions over the last 12 years from version 1 onwards. I'm optimistic and Kenneth is optimistic that 2024 is correct. But you'll see we're not committing to a month yet. And I also have both logos on just because. So the first new enhancement feature is implementation of run shell command, which will replace both run command and run command QA. This is very much for those who are particularly developing either in framework or particularly developing in easy blocks. Run command and run command QA are how you tell EasyBuild to run, how to sort of suggest run a command. Run command is go and say make, go and run make. Run command QA is where the program that's running, you'll tell it to run a command. The program will start putting out output and then ask a user question of what do you want to do at this point, which EasyBuild reads that output and then responds to it. Well, we're unifying the two into one command that does both. One of the major reasons for this is actually the default thing you want when you want to use run command at the moment, to run a command and fail if the command fails, isn't actually the default method of running a command, which means a whole bunch of, and we've actually already implemented run shell command, a whole bunch of our changes simplify to just go run shell command, run this command. And it just, simplifies a little bit of code, makes our life a little bit better. We're able to use more modern Python, and that will be linked to other changes with there. And it's also enabling further enhancement. The simplifications we've been able to make. One I'll talk about in a little while is save shell commands in environment. That's actually already been implemented, I'll tell there. But also, by doing this, we're going to be able to improve the logging and the error reporting and make it easier to follow what's going on. So this has been implemented in framework. The old functions are now deprecated. So run command QA, they will be there in EasyBuild 5, but if you use them, they will throw out a deprecation warning. We've replaced it in framework. We've placed it nearly in the all of the test suite. I think there's still one use in EasyBlock test suite, which I noticed I hadn't done there. We're nearly completely replaced in EasyBlock. So there's a linked issue there, which I think lists the 3 or 4 that are still to go. They're almost everything that's still remaining to be replaced in EasyBlocks is either a command QA one, and it's the 2 command QA ones that have lists of questions that are about this long, where I've looked at them. I've tried Abacus and it didn't work when I tried to do it. So I need to just go revisit and work that one out. And there's a couple more where people have contributed into EasyBuild 4, new EasyBlock or an updated EasyBlock and I noticed a couple of those are about to come through and need converting. But we're very, very nearly there. And the reason when we get to the number of PRs, which I think Kenneth's already spoiled in his State of the Union talk, the reason why there were so many for EasyBlocks is I did every single one as a separate PR there. If you have custom EasyBlocks at your site, if you use hooks, anything else, that document, I think we still need to push change to it for the command QA, but it is actually all there, the information. I can't remember whether we've put it live, but it is documented how to do it. The other place to look is look at the EasyBuild, the EasyBlocks PR, as that actually shows you how we've changed it in a lot of places, and will give information. But that is one of the areas that will impact people going forward, particularly if you're contributing to a upstream. So we have put a lot of documentation into there, and we will continue to do so. It will tell you what to do. So I mentioned this, one of the improvements, save shell commands and environment. I will say this isn't merged yet. It's a PR, it's open, or I don't think it's been merged unless somebody's done that while I haven't been looking. What this does, and it's sort of commonly, it's a good reaction. When commands are running, it does two things. Creates two files, an env.sh and command.sh. One is the environment, all environment variables. There's a slight caveat on that it's not quite, but it's nearly. It doesn't do, I think, bash functions was the comment. But it will, file with all the environment variables in it, and then command.sh, which if you run that script, it puts you into an environment where you can find out what you were running. You can just go back in your history and see what commands were run recently. What was the last command, which would be the one that failed, we would assume, but also just go back and step through to see what's happened. And that will make hopefully a lot of people's life easier, some way of getting into an environment and going, what happened? Why is it happening? There. But as I said, we've still got to merge it. It's not far off. It's nearly complete. There, and yeah. One that we just hinted at and we've started the work on is we're trying to standardize parameter and config names. This is where we'll sort of use the word opt for options in one place and options in a separate place, try and standardize. So if one parameter name or config name, you're probably going to know what the other one is, rather than having to guess where we might have shortened a name and where we might have used a large. But, and this is our plan, we're in the middle of this, and exactly how this is going to be done is still a little bit open. We're still deciding. Is we're going to add the new names in some way as a second set of options, and then implement methods for auto renaming of them. And then during the lifetime of EasyBuild 5, we will then switch to use the new names in framework blocks and configs, and then deprecate the old names. Though exactly that, and that might be an iterative process. It might be a little bit more of a step. We've just got to decide exactly on that, but a non-destructive way that this is going to be going forward, just to make everybody's life easier. And also, as part of this, there will be some policy document which will actually, once we've written it, that will actually tell you how we've decided what the names will be. So if you're implementing a variable or a parameter or a config or whatever in the future, and you want to know what should I name it, we'll hopefully give you enough hints as to what you should do. I'm looking at the person, Jasper, who's in the process of implementing that, and I think I've just volunteered him to write some documents, which would be good because it saves me writing it, and I've got plenty of other documents to write at the moment. One that is very, very dear to me is enhancing the use of download instructions. This is something that's actually already an EasyBuild feature. It's just there are about 5 easy configs that actually currently use it in EasyBuild 4. What this is we all have been there. There is a bunch of software that you have to manually download because there is either no direct link, or you have to agree to terms of service, or you have to, log into Abacus's website and download a file. But EasyBuild will try and currently at the moment download these sources and then fail with a message that's often a little bit cryptic to understand and tell you what it is, partly because the last URL in the list it will try is our backup mirror, and it will go, well, we haven't been able to download it from there, and everybody goes, well, why not? Shouldn't it be there? So what we've done is gone through all the easy configs and added that anything that needs it should now have a download instruction. This will be in the EasyBuild 5. It also, we're improving the message. So it will tell you that you need to download something and where you then should put it on your system, i.e. what is the default place it looks for sources. And this is all about providing a better user experience. Why is this not working? Well, I need to go and manually do something. The main reason this is, well, there's two reasons why I've done most of this work in terms of EasyBuild 5. One is because we're not supporting Python 2 anymore, and get to that in a minute, I'm able to use F strings, which actually simplified my life a lot. And the other one is, and this is another feature or another bit that's coming up, because we're archiving older easy configs, I could implement this in new easy configs and only the newer ones, which simplified my life of actually finding out what the download places were for some of these bits of software. Because the other sort of thing we did was, if we couldn't find out what the source was, nobody else is going to be able to work out what the source is either. And it was in a few places where bits of software I was going, I can't, the homepage no longer works. The software is either so generic a name that you can't search for it and find the software. And yeah, so I simplified my life a bit there. Now, I've put this as enhancement. There's a slight breaking change bit here, but hopefully not. We will be enabling RPath linking by default. There's already quite good documentation about what RPath is and what the support is there. And if you want more information, I'd just say go and read that because it links out to there. We are, however, by default, going to retain our library path. And again, if you want to know why, that's also covered in that bit of documentation. And I'm not going to go through that now, but it also, and that documentation also tells you if you do want to remove our library path from your generated modules, that that parameter is there that allows you to do it, and that documentation tells you how to do it. The one caveat and the one thing we're in the process of fixing, there's currently, if you're testing EasyBuild 5 and you have a mixed RPath and non-RPath stack of built software, there's an occasional failure, lamps being one of the bits of software, where our detection of is this software correctly RPathed misunderstands whether the software is correctly RPathed. And it's very much it will work, but we just need to work out why the sanity check fails on it, or implement a workaround for why the sanity check fails. And if you want to read about that, where I say fix, that's actually a pull request, and it has some documentation as to what we're doing and what's going on. Definitely in the improved user experience, we're going to be turning on trace output by default. I'll start with the bottom. When talking with maintainers, nearly every maintainer that's ever answered my question says, yes, we just use trace by default. It's easier when you trace. So trace gives more output. It will tell you a bit more about what you're doing, or what EasyBuild, sorry, is doing at each stage. We'll show you some of the commands being run. And it definitely gives you a better understanding of how EasyBuild operates. And also, if you then copy and paste the logs to us and say, this is where it failed, it will help us understand where you were in the process, particularly where a particular stage inside is a multi-stage process. So as say the build step might do 5 different commands, with the extra output there, and with trace enabled, we'll know which of the 5 commands was actually being run at the time, rather than just having to guess which one failed. There. For Python package installation, all easy configs, and after set 2, well, I can't remember which way round it is, 1 for Python package and 1 for Python bundle. Those 3 have to be set at the moment. They will be on by default, so you will no longer need to set them. And actually, the easy config CI in EasyBuild 5 will tell you, please do not set them there. So it, just simplifying what you have to specify, making everybody's life a little bit simpler. Yes.
Is there support for virtual environments? Is there support for virtual environments? Python virtual environments.
I'm in what sense? Sorry.
Installing into virtual environments, like.
That's
currently no.
No.
Okay.
But I think we need to better
it did, Kenneth, you want the microphone, sorry.
Okay.
You can just repeat it.
Okay. Okay, so currently you're saying no, there's no support for virtual. Okay.
But I think maybe you need to explain what the use case is.
That Python path. I mean, especially if you have different tools that perhaps use different Python versions or something, which can come up a lot and kind of stuff that I install, then using Python path can cause clashes, because Python path itself is not a versioned path. I wish that it was, but it is not. It is meant to be a direct path to site packages. So if you have different Python versions, different major minor Python versions, there will be clashes in what you're loading. And using virtual environments and hash bangs that point to a Python within the virtual environment that you've created, that Python will find its dependencies relative to its own location rather than use Python path and things like that. So we've stopped using Python path completely and instead now install into Python virtual environments. And so we can have different tools with different Python versions, different major minor versions, and there's no clashes between them.
Question at the back, so we'll
Actually can answer it. That's the mic.
Okay.
So the issue with setting Python paths is real. So if you had set this Python path in the modules and then a user, for example, creates a virtual env with this module loaded, then he, of course, expected if he installs an updated version of the package that's already installed, that his package will be used, but it is not. And this is exactly why we introduced a hook for writing the module file that replaced each occurrence of Python path in the module file by a corresponding entry of EB Python prefixes. And this basically solves this, and the change here basically makes this the default. So that will just work. So it isn't installing into virtual envs, but it plays much nicer with virtual envs. And it's only the prefix there. So the script we installed to make this EB Python prefix work then takes the version of the Python you are actually using into account to add this to the sys path. So yeah, all problems solved, hopefully.
Yeah. And and that is, that works ongoing, but yes, we're aware and hopefully we'll make life.
Just repeat what I'm saying for the remote people. I think the only issue with this is that everybody knows Python path, but nobody knows EB Python.
So Kenneth's comment was, yes, that everybody knows what Python path is, but no EB, very few people, even who use EasyBuild, probably know what EB Python prefixes is, unless you've looked under the hood of what's happening. But part of that was probably us then documenting and making it really clear what's going on and why there. Another one, enhancement, and this is for people installing Fortran software. What excited user in the room, at least. Good to know. Because GCC core is a subtool chain for not just GCC-based tool chains, but also for Intel ones and other compilers. .mod files shouldn't be Fortran.mod files, that is, shouldn't be present in GCC core installations. Currently, we don't actually check this, but what we're actually going to do is start. We are going to put in. We have put in detection, and by default, it will warn if it fails, if it finds one. But actually, what we're going to do in the central repository is when we're using test bots, we will make that into a failure to make sure we don't there. And there's been a few PRs recently where I've either moved software out of GCC core or just pointed out to some other people, can they just move it because of this? There is an easy config parameter that we've added, skip mod file, sanity check, and that's for those bits of software that you install in GCC core that aren't actually Fortran.mod files, are just .mod files because they use that extension for something else. These two, they're both some sort of data file format or instruction type file, instruction to that bit of software running type file. So there is a method of skipping that. There's also things such as Clang itself and some of the variants, which obviously have .mod files, but they're .mod files generated by that particular compiler during their installation process. So they're fine in there. But those items, anything I've hit so far and found it on, I have fixed in EasyBuild 5 or put the workaround in EasyBuild 5, which is most things. That's how I have it. They're only a small handful. Python 3.12, EasyBuild EB5 works on Python 3.12. Well, the test suite definitely runs. I'm not sure whether any of the developers, any of us developing and using EasyBuild 5 have actually tried doing installations yet, partly because the type of system I need to be installing on, I don't actually have Python 3.12 on to test with, which means I might need to just work out how it's things like we've replaced distutils use and how EasyBuild installs and some other stuff with that. Also, as of this past weekend, there's actually a PR for Python 3.12 as an easy config. But that really important statement, read the notes in it, you need to do a reinstall of ncursors. Because, yeah, I'm seeing Kenneth's reaction, because I'm going to explain this one because it amused me. In ncursors, we don't install the package config files currently. Python 3.12 tries to detect tries to get ncursors W, the wide character support, and messes up the detection of ncursors and detects ncursors rather than ncursors W. Yeah, I can see Kenneth's reaction. When you install the package config files, it does the detection correctly, gets ncursors W linked in correctly, and doesn't fail halfway through your install with a cryptic message of you just sitting there going, well, why is that causing a failure? I can see the library myself. Software for you. But like I said, just read the notes. It tells you what to rebuild, and it is quite a quick rebuild, fortunately. And then that PR, I think, is available to work. It will probably not get merged because it's adding an extra Python version into an existing toolchain generation, and probably won't do that, but it will just give us the basis of the next one. I'm seeing a nod in the room there as to there.
The good reason for now is that we're not going to introduce another Python in the same toolchain. That's too much of a pain. It's not worth the trouble either. I also think that there's going to be too many projects that don't actually support 3.12 yet. So it's still, from that side, probably early on. We've actually had a request from a user that's asking for Python 3.12. It's like, how hard can it be? Yeah, we can give it to you, but you'll probably run into trouble very, very quickly.
Yes, I mean,
stuff on top of it.
I've had one request as well, and I might install it. The slight complication is that's obviously in a 2023B toolchain, and I haven't even deployed 2023A at my site yet. So long time, but I at least know how I would do it there. But if I do install it for a user, they will literally just get Python with nothing else. It's going to be Python plus setup tools plus wheel plus pip, I think. Change module options. I think I'm right with this first statement that this is, well, it will be Almod. I think it's Lewis syntax only. We're going to flip some defaults to switch to using module depends on by default and switch to module extensions on by default. Module depends on by default improves the loading unloading experience, and module extensions on by default allows your module file to know that not only does, so where we say have SciPy bundle there, it allows you to go, well, SciPy bundle actually also has NumPy and whatever. So if you do something in module, I think it's when you do module avail NumPy, it'll go, yeah, but that's in SciPy there. I've linked to the Almod documentation. That's very much, and obviously my slides will be available later online, so you'll be able to follow links there. Both of those are in the process of being purged, which is generally we're just trying to fix the test suite to deal with a changed option about more output in the module files, but nearly there. And here's where we hit the breaking changes, but with the comment that we've been warning about this. So minimum versions, Python 3.6 is now the minimum version. As Kenneth showed earlier, Python 2.7 usage, we're getting reported as under 5%. Python 3.5 usage was 1%, so I'm assuming that's one response in the survey. And by going to Python, well, we were probably always going to lose that one, but it's come, Python 2.7 is end of life 4 years now. And talking personally as a developer, I can develop with Python 3.3 now quite easily. If I have to make sure my code works on Python 2, it probably takes me 10 times as long as just doing the Python 3, because this is the one place I have to still think about Python 2. I haven't actually written has to support Python 2 code other than for EasyBuild in probably 3 years now. I'm seeing somebody suggesting some person still has to. Yeah, we've managed to convert everything else we were doing locally. We put a lot of effort in because we just hit a point where we couldn't consciously try and still support Python 2. And I just know for myself I cannot do it. My head just, if I don't know that something is going to fail with Python 2 unless I actually run it and find a system I can test it on. And yeah, Almod, as Kenneth said, I think, going to jump to 8.0.0 being the lowest supported version. And Tmod, read the modifier on this. It is 4. We're still just making a decision and talking to the developer. It's 4.3, but only if it's above 4. Lower versions are less than 4 is still there, but will be deprecated. It's only that you can't use between 4 and 4.3. That's what the Tmod developer has said is a good idea, because that's still quite an old version there. But as I said, not yet merged. So if you are using that at your site and have some feedback for us, then please give it to us if it is really going to be problematic. Remove and sort of there, anything that you're running in EasyBuild 4.9.1, oh sorry, going back at there, that is giving you that message, deprecated functionality will no longer work, and then tells you what the old command is, what the new command is, that code's gone. If you start running EasyBuild 5, code's gone. You will not work. It will just fail. That's such as the remove deprecated code. That's such as the Python 2 support. It's all just gone. That was quite a pleasing day to me, removing. I just piled up these PRs of removing deprecated code, and we've got, and it just makes our life simpler as to developers of not having to support really old code in there, code that nobody really quite, in some places, even understands what it's doing anymore. And it just, has to be done at some point for some things. New deprecations. Not actually that many at the moment. Environmental modules. So that's as what you would set, I think, EasyBuild to tell it what they are, what type of environment modules you are. One's called environment module C and one called environment modules TCL. One of those is the really old one and one's the even older. So they are ancient, which is effectively anything under version 4. You will get deprecation warnings for those. I haven't noticed anything. I looked for our PRs and I couldn't find anything else we've deprecated. I think that's it. But as in the lifetime of EasyBuild, other than, and run command and run command QA. Yes, I've forgotten about adding those because that was. But as we've seen during the lifetime of EasyBuild 4, because EasyBuild 4's been around how many years? It was kind of saying 5 years. Yeah, on an earlier slide, and I've forgotten already. We will add some more. I would assume we'll add more deprecations over the lifetime of EasyBuild 5 and publicize, of things we might be removing in EasyBuild 6 whenever that happens, sometime in the future. But based on our release rate, you're going to have a couple of years, probably more. Kenneth mentioned this one as well, toolchain support policy. This is from last year of the sort of motivation, using the central repository as a reference, and where possible, one version of software per toolchain generation. As I said last year and repeating this year, there are some exceptions, but we try to keep them limited. So, your stack will work, using the reference easyconfig, the stack should work most software together unless you're off in different toolchains. Information there as to how to add your own easyconfigs repository on top of that. If you want to do that, and I know lots of people do, documentation there. So based on the feedback, actually, this was what we came out with as our policy, and it is in the document we have there. Example, as of 2020, as of today, 2023B is the latest generation we have released. We will accept PRs for the most recent 6 toolchain generations behind that. And at the moment, we have no plans of changing from 2 a year. So that's those 6. He says, and he looks very quickly just to check he did update the slide based. Yes. So those 6. We will then deprecate the next 2. So 7 and 8 tool chains back. So at the moment, that will be 2020B and 2022A would be deprecated. At that point, we will start closing PR and issues for software related to those in those generations and archive anything older, 2019B and older. In EasyBuild 5, that means we have archived everything from 2019B tool chain generation and older. And when I say a generation, so obviously that's the underlying GCC, GCC core, equivalent Intel version, and any other tool chains. And going back there were some other ones. And equivalently, we've also archived older system toolchain easy configs. I can't remember exactly how we did that, but things of a similar age and older. With also those things where nobody could work out how to download the source code for was a few things. And also combined into that, we also archived out old patch files that were no longer used by any EasyConfig. There is then a further thing we've done on top of this. There will now be in EasyBuild 5 a separate EasyConfigs archive. We've separated out with Git history anything that was in the main EasyConfigs repository. So before, there was this directory inside there, __archives__. Instead, we've pulled it out into a separate repository. What we've found is by doing that, Git operations are faster because there's less files there. Speeds up the test suite. The combined of the previous slide and some work here speeds up the test suite, less easy configs to parse. It is its own repository. It's already actually available, but we're not going to install it by default. And they are provided as reference. No support will be given. Very much the idea there that it's a separate thing there just so people can reference and still have them available there. But if you do want them, you can pip install them on top of your EasyBuild installation. We've removed a number of unused easy blocks. So when I was doing, and others were doing, the conversion of run command and run command QA to run shell command, if, having followed the previous slide, if we were left with no easy configs, well, actually, sorry, that slide, having followed that, got to take archived out the older thing. These are all the items where there were no easy configs left. Where no easy configs left, and they had either run command in them or run shell command, so they were taken out. If you care about some of this software, it will be a case of the bottom line, contribute easy config, and if it still needs an easy block, an up-to-date easy block. I've missed at least one out of this list because it's in a separate list. I archived the easy block for, my slides will be available online as well, so we will make sure to send around. I also archived the end cursors easy block, and you'll go, and I've already talked about end cursors in this, I think it was end cursors. That's the oldest easy config. It was used back in nearly 10 years ago, and I think it was 9 years ago, we switched every easy config over to actually just using, I assume it's configure make, and had forgotten to delete the easy block, which I only found when I was trying to edit something else. But most of this software, as I said, is quite old, and that's why the easy blocks have gone. But hopefully some of them, that if they are still existing, have better install methods now. I've certainly found that in some places. Yeah.
If there is any easy block that you still care about, but you don't have an easy config, is there a way to access them still, or the only way is to just do like git, go back in time?
Oh, well, Git history. I mean, they're still there in EasyBuild 4.9, so you can probably get them from an old release there as well. If you really care about them, then yes, you can Git restore them, so you could, if you needed it, restore it in a Git branch and then submit it to us an update. But one of the things there is probably going to want, part of the reason is that when doing the run command to run shell command conversion, not actually being able to test whether some of these things worked was quite important, because, some of them are quite easy commands that could be tested, but some of them are quite complicated. And it's like, I have no idea.
Well, it really boils down to if an easy block disappeared that you were still using, maybe with only in-house easy configs or something, then either, if you know how, try to restore it and try to convert it to be compatible with EasyBuild 5, or let us know somehow, like mention it in Slack or open an issue, do something. If you need help with that, we're happy to help out, to pull it back from develop and revive it. And maybe even we can do the porting, and then you do the testing, that's fine as well. The porting effort is not the biggest issue usually. It's just making sure that we didn't overlook something when doing the port. Now, there may be exceptions, but most of these I don't think are still relevant. Do you see something that's still?
Yeah, I think the poly classic is still used quite a lot.
ERB, infrastructure, T-placer, and Philo.
Well, so it's not because the name is here that the software is no longer supported. The easy configs may be using a generic easy block now, and then it's a non-issue. So, but yeah, take a look, and we'll do some hands-on today. If there's something that you notice today that we still need to port over, that's fine.
None of these I'm currently installing with EasyBuild, so it's not keeping me from use. Thank you. It's not keeping me from using these. We install these differently, but it's very common. When I was talking with Helen, it's very common to have old software that probably was built with an old tool chain and maybe needed an easy block or something like that, and no longer does, or just needs to be ported over to something new. Yeah, but I can see several here that I would want to keep around.
Yeah, as I said, we're happy to revive them. We didn't see a need, and then.
That makes sense.
There's also related that this happened because of the run shell command and run command, run shell command, and run command QA conversion. There's also a separate list that hasn't yet been touched of ones that are no longer used but don't have run command or run shell command. But I had about 4 of them, but I've only got about as far as D in the alphabet before I ran out of time. And we will have a similar, we'll publicize that list somewhere as well and see. Remaining tasks. We need to decide on what the remaining breaking changes are for EasyBuild 5. And this is the maintainers or the group of us working on EasyBuild 5 will go away and do soonish in one of our meetings. These were the items that need to be merged quite soon, because if they're going to break functionality, we need to make sure people know about it and we're advertising it and it's correctly. I'm not sure whether there's anything else in there, but we'll need to do. It's then deciding on what the remaining non-breaking changes there are. We've got more time to merge those, but the more time we take, the longer it takes us to release EasyBuild 5. Probably the biggest step at the moment, other than, well, is in these two. It's write the documentation, and yes, there's quite a bit more of that to do. Some of it will come out of these slides, and then it's test, which probably via a release candidate there, and then hopefully a release. So there is a bit of a short-term impact that's going to happen. At some point soon, we will merge the 50x branches into develop in the EasyBuild repositories. When we do that, configs that are in develop, configs that are being PR'd, may not work with EasyBuild 4x. So the Python package defaults I talked about, things like use pip equals true, because that's now going to be set by the easy block, it won't be in the easy config, but our current configs or easy configs require it. So, it will make it slightly harder to be used develop at that point. Some easy blocks in development, in PRs or in develop will fail because they're using run shell command, which obviously isn't in EasyBuild 4 point, EasyBuild 4. So what this will mean is if you're using from PR and include easy blocks from PR, they're going to be what, you're going to might have to think about what you're doing, and we will advise as to what's going on and what you should do, and workarounds. One of the things also is this CI will change to reflect the newly deprecated items, i.e. Where we've said, please don't do this in future, we'll have the PRs going, please don't do this. It will cause failure, such as the mod files in Fortran that I mentioned, we will fail. So far, and Kenneth mentioned this, that's a number of PRs, 75 for framework, which is mainly the newer changed and deprecated remove functionality, 170 in easy blocks, which is mainly run shell command. That's why there's most of them, and 85 in easy configs, which is almost entirely archiving all of them. Yeah, I can't get to that. Observation, we base all our stats, and the one real place we can get, well, there's 2 places we can get. One is from the survey, and the other is from meetings like this, from PRs sending us messages, telling us about things going on. Those are the places we can find out about, because that's how we're going to guess that Python 2 use has gone down so much. Python 3.5 use has gone to nearly nothing, so we can lose support for them. So feedback on those things to us is important, where you care that something remains. So if you don't care that Python 2 support is going, then there's no point feeding back to us, but unless you want to come join the Go Away Python 2 party, which I might start organizing soon. Yeah.
In August, I'll be there.
So hands-on, we said there was some time for hands-on. That's why I've gone through reasonably quickly. Kenneth assures me these are the simplest instructions for setting up an EasyBuild environment. So we will believe him. Somebody will copy and paste them into Slack in a few moments. And hands-on testing, there is time for you to test. Start testing. Very much, the important bit about this is very much what it's doing is putting EasyBuild into a virtual environment, so it shouldn't impact anything else you do. only when you're inside that virtual environment. It will have the same requirements as requirements. You need a module tool, so you need to be on your HPC system or on a suitable container image or something else to be able to use it. And if you do have questions, please ask. Obviously, I'm just volunteering, Jasper and Kenneth and Adam to answer them all. And yep, that's my last slide.
Can you go back 2 slides?
Oh, sorry.
So the breakage for from PR,
Oh,
I only just now realized that this is going to be a bigger issue than I anticipated, because anyone who's using from PR now anywhere, and this may be in Easy stack files, which we're doing in the Easy project, as soon as we collapse the 50x branches into develop, that will all break. Well, in the worst case scenario. Because when you're calling from PR on a merged pull request, it pulls the easy configs from develop rather than from the pull request.
If you use the develop branch,
No. So if you do from PR on a merged PR, if the PR is merged, it takes it from develop. So as soon as we remove use pip and all that crap, because EasyBuild 5 is going to enable it by default, that's actually going to be a bigger impact than I realized.
Then if you use from commit, then you can choose.
Yes, but you actively have to migrate from PR to from commit, which is only possible since 2 weeks, essentially. So maybe we need to think this over again and think about if we can come up with a better approach. I'm not sure if it's possible.
I think the answer is it's a fairly short period between collapsing the branches and
we need to get EasyBuild 5 out as soon as possible.
But there will be a period where
where it's painful. It's painful. And especially for people who want to stick to an EasyBuild 4 version for whatever reason, if they also want to keep using from PR with that version, that's going to be pretty much impossible. It will at least impact people's workflow. So maybe we need to think about whether we can do something about it. I'm not sure. I mean, we cannot change existing EasyBuild 4 releases. We can do a 4.9.2 release that has something extra that eases that pain a bit. So as long as you jump to that, you may still be okay.
4.9.2 at the same time as develop as we do
as 5.0, yeah.
Well, probably is the same time we do.
We need to. I think we need to think about this, because this is gonna. Also, it's not going to be obvious what's happening. People are going to do from PR like they did before, and all of a sudden it will start breaking without them moving to EasyBuild 5.
Yeah.
So that's that's something we need to do a bit of homework on, I think. Yeah. Okay. That's also why we need. I mean, at some point we'll do the collapse, and I guess we'll hear soon enough whether stuff is broken. Right? People are going to tell us. So there may be a bit of pain in the short term related to this. And that's also why once we have something that resembles a release candidate, and now if you go back to the instructions there, your virtual env stuff. So this kind of testing, if you have stuff that you want to test out with essentially a pre-release of EasyBuild 5, please do. And it may be as simple as doing a simple install in your environment with your current EasyBuild configuration and just see what happens. Does it still work? Does it? How heavily will you be impacted by?
So I've not tripped over anything in my hooks that have caused problems. So I've been installing any PRs I've done, either created myself or tested since the beginning of this year. I've done with the EasyBuild 5 development. Oh. I've not yet hit anything unexpected. Oh, apart from the lamps and mixed R path, but that was about the only.
So we are trying to make this as easy as possible to switch, but that's also where we need feedback. Only when we get good feedback, we can actually do stuff to ease the pain a bit. Okay, any questions for Simon?
But to keep on the stuff, if you change the meaning of from PR in 4.9.2, then that should fix the issue, right? If you pick a specific branch for it rather than develop.
Yeah, and I think we can do something there to ease that pain a bit. Yeah, we can. From PR can check whether it's already picking up easy configs that are for 5.0 or not. Like how we exactly do that is a detail, but that's something we have to implement, I think, in an EasyBuild 4 release, and then make sure that people. I mean, we do see very good adoption to the latest EasyBuild version. I think that's a reason to do something extra in the 4.9.2 or a 4.99 or whatever we want to call it, like the last EasyBuild 4 release ever.
A 4.99, and then we need another one to 4.99.
Yeah, 4.99 at one. I think we'll need something like this to ease the pain a bit.
I was wondering, from PR uses the develop branch. Do we actually make use of the main branch for something? Because that could be an easy way out of this if we are not using the develop branch for what it's usually used, e.g. merge it into a main branch at some point. We can use the main branch for 5.x, and anyone using from PR with an old version will get the ones from develop.
But only if we sync easy configs between them, I think.
Keep them out there, you can just repeat what I'm saying. Currently, the main branch always corresponds to the latest release.
The main branch corresponds to the current release.
So as soon as we release EasyBuild 5.0, the main branch will follow that. So that doesn't really help.
But is there a reason for making the main branch follow the release and not just tag on any branch?
I don't know. Maybe we need to kill the main branch. I don't know. Maybe we can do something with branches. You're right. So that could be another approach.
Yeah, because as you said, that might break a lot of people's workflow that were, for example, adopting the easy stack files with from PR a lot.
Yeah, I think we need to. There's some stuff we can do.
And it also works with a simplification that is intended in EasyBuild 5 by using the main branch and not wondering why are there two branches, what are they used for?
Yeah.
Just having one branch and tags on that branch, it's less confusion, I think.
We actually have additional branches as well. We have now we have a 4.9x branch, which is used for the 4.9x releases, and that's kept separate from develop for practical reasons for release management.
Yeah, for release management, it makes sense. For example, branching off a tag for releasing a dot something release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's maybe another. Okay, so how many people here? Well, and this is a question for remote. For remote as well. Sorry. Yeah, keep the virtual env stuff here, and do keep in mind if you have Python path set, you may need to override Python path as well, because if you're in a virtual env, Python path is still going to win. So depending on how you're setting up EasyBuild currently to do installations.
Sorry, what I'm just doing.
I put in this in Slack maybe so people can copy paste it. Yeah.
Yeah. They are now in Slack, and hopefully Slack and between PowerPoint and Slack. No, sorry, I haven't used PowerPoint. But between Slack and everything else, hopefully
there's no funny
characters. No,
it looks okay.
They'll almost certainly be either there or there in the dashes.
Yeah,
I think okay. I caught them all.
Okay, who's planning to do a bit of hands-on playing with EasyBuild 5 right now before we call it a wrap? Okay, good. A bunch of people are. If you're not, that's fine. Then I guess you're free to leave or you're free to stay if you want to ask questions.
Free to talk and ask
Or free
questions.
to talk and free to discuss. So now it's really the end of the official program for today, at least. For the people remote, you're also welcome to play around. We'll try to keep an eye on Slack as well. But also feel free to do this whenever. So later on, if you're trying this, playing around with EasyBuild 5, the EB5 channel in the EasyBuild Slack is definitely the right place to ask for help if you're running into something funny when you're playing around.
Also, if you do open a GitHub issue in any of the repositories and you are testing EasyBuild 5, can you put that as about the first thing you put in a comment in the description so that we know whichever maintainer is picking it up doesn't go, well, that's really weird because it works perfectly fine.
Yeah, make sure that if it's specific to EasyBuild 5 that you notice that. We'll then add the necessary label to that as well so we can easily zoom in on these issues. All right, do we have any more questions for Simon before we start playing around a bit? No, okay. Then yeah, Simon and I will be walking around, maybe Jasper too. Where's Jasper? Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You want to show that on screen as well, or?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
I've got some stuff. So I've renamed the. I've got support for renaming easy config parameters, templates, and the constants. I haven't done the configuration options yet, but yeah, I opened another draft pull request that actually implements it with like the renaming added to the dictionaries that I added. So you can play around with it if you check out that one. Once the one that actually adds the implementation is merged, I'll rebase that one. But yeah, the idea is that you can EasyBuild won't complain if you use the old versions or the new versions or a mix of them, as long as you don't use the same one twice, as in like use config opts and configure opts at the same time. But
too many windows. So that's
so that's the pull request that I just opened. There's an issue that I opened in the framework, which goes through a list of all of the renamed things. If anyone has any strong feelings on how we've decided to rename some, like feel free to comment on the issue or on Slack, obviously. It's a pretty long list. There is some rules for how I selected the renamed versions further down in that issue. But basically, it's just standardizing the use of underscores, whether we use opts or options and stuff like that, deps, dependencies, and so on.
Yeah, so that's definitely an interesting one to go through because this is going to have in the end high impact. Not in EasyBuild 5 because what we're first doing is adding support for the new names before we touch the old names. But at some point we're going to deprecate the old names, and it includes very common easy config parameters like config opts. We're renaming that. There's a bunch of others as well that we're also renaming. So you're bound if you have any custom easy configs, custom easy blocks, hooks. You're bound to hit this stuff at some point. So it's better to give feedback now than after we've put this into probably EasyBuild 5. We're going to support the new names.
Yeah, the idea is as well that we will provide some scripts that should automatically rename at least easy configs.
Yeah.
Possibly easy blocks as well. We'll see how straightforward that is, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see how difficult that is.
The largest effort will be doing framework, really, I think.
Are you considering to have at some point an option, say strict mode, so that we can check if it's going to support only the new one and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, that hasn't been done yet, but I think that has been talked about before in one of our EB5 meetings. So yeah, that would be something we would look at as well. So that you can check that everything is there. The easy way at the moment would be to manually add them all to the deprecated parameters, but that's, that EasyBuild will spit out deprecation warnings. At the moment, a lot of them, because it does one per instance it finds rather than collating them into one nice warning.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine we'll do something like we've done for the failing on Fortran mod files, that, there'll be something that'll flip it from being a warning to a crash, because that's what we'll use in the test bot to make sure they're not being used at the point we want them to do.
You mentioned Fortran mod files, and I was just thinking, I was wondering if would we, since there are other modules that use .mod extensions, would it not make sense to flip the sense of that? So you check for .mod files on option and just ignore .mod files without an option, since they would only really appear in Fortran code, and they appear in so many other modules, or several other modules.
So at least they have to be there in an installation of the software. And so it's not just that a piece of software might call its files .mod files, it's that it has, say, some examples, which is the Cplex and whatever example, is it actually has some examples or inside its installation. So yes, they might be used in a lot more, but it's quite rare that you'll find them inside an installation. So the answer is, I think that's the right way. But if we suddenly hit a whole bunch of PRs where we see a problem, we might revisit that. It's quite rare.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I think it's predominantly Fortran files
we also
only had a few exceptions.
At the moment, we've gone with the naive. There is a .mod file extension. We think there might be an enhancement where we actually explicitly ask some Linux utility as what is that file, and we might then be able to tell even more information. And if we're hitting it a lot, we'll enhance the check and go, it has to be some other properties as well. But at the moment, I haven't hit enough of them to think it's an issue. Because also, we are only talking about GCC core installs, so that's all. It's already minimizes the number there's likely to be.
Is there anyone who had any, let's say, wild ideas for EasyBuild 5 that you were hoping to see but you haven't seen mentioned at all?
UV.
UV.
Yes. UV replaces pip install and the env.
So you want to have support for using UV in EasyBuild?
Instead of pip, yes.
Yeah, to me, that's an additional feature that we can implement, or you can implement anytime.
I know.
So this kind of stuff, extra things that EasyBuild can do, but don't affect current behavior, at least by default. Fine. I mean, for me, they're out of scope for EasyBuild 5. We're looking for stuff that we can only do when we have a new major version, because that's what needs to happen now before we wrap up on EasyBuild 5.
So I'd heard fairly recently, not too recently, that Mamba was starting to be competitive with Anaconda. Has there been any mention of building support for that into EasyBuild, or?
I think that may already be there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you can already install Mamba with EasyBuild, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't steal mine.
I think we can install it. I think there's an open PR for installing things with other easy configs that use Mamba. It might be an open PR.
Look, there's Mamba support in the Conda easy block,
which is in
so if you're using an easy config file that uses the Conda easy block, and you have Mamba as a build dependency, it will use that, or you can at least opt into it somehow.
I'm just noticing that James is nodding, which must mean we've used it somewhere.
again, that's something that we could add anytime, right?
Yeah.
So not specific to EasyBuild 5 at all.
Yeah, one of the most work-intensive things that I found was that when you try to update Python, updating extensions is really painful. So there's this tool called the Easy Update, I think.
Yep.
That works really well with R, but with Python, not so much. So something like that would be nice.
Integrated in EasyBuild itself,
Yes.
you mean? Yeah. So there have been plans is a big word, ideas to integrate that into EasyBuild, including John Day, who developed the Easy Update tool. He has come to the user meeting a couple of times already. And we always said, okay, yeah, let's get our hands dirty after this and then make it happen. And then it never really happened up until now. Now, yeah, it would be very useful. I fully agree. It's not that easy of a task to do, but maybe and his implementation is probably, I don't want to say old, but it's using old techniques there's now better APIs for that.
Okay.
That we could leverage. The ecosystem talks that's coming up on Thursday is actually one thing we could use for this, because that's like one central API where you can talk to PyPy and CRAN and a whole bunch of other things. I haven't really looked into it in detail yet, but that looks very promising.
Okay.
And there's other things like this as well that may help us a lot to at least reduce the effort significantly to be able to do something like this. Yeah.
Okay.
But having that would be, I think, a killer feature for.
Yeah, it'll help a lot.
Yeah. But again, in terms of EasyBuild 5, it's not a breaking change.
Okay.
It's an extra feature that we could implement anytime.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that, I agree that would be very good to integrate somehow. Yeah. Now, what you mainly want to do there is say, start creating an easy config and let EasyBuild figure out the dependencies that are missing, the extensions that are missing. Or?
Yeah, perhaps you can create based on like old easy configs that already exist. You just update them, and then it checks the dependencies if it still matches. Or
yeah, I have an ugly, dirty script that does something like this, but it's not integrated in EasyBuild at all.
Okay.
But it could become a feature. Yeah. Jasper has.
Yeah, I think the reason why it works fairly well with R is that CRAN has some easily accessible metadata on what the dependencies are, which PyPy doesn't have. So basically, you need to download the packages before you know what the dependencies are.
You actually need to install stuff before you know what to install.
Yeah, basically, and that's fairly intrusive, right? Like you need to, like, you're downloading for something like PyPy bundle, Python dash bundle, PyPy, whatever it's called. There's thousands of extensions that you need to download somewhere and check what all the dependencies are and build a tree from that. Whereas for R, it's a lot easier to determine.
I think with R also, sorry, just talking to indicate it, is nearly every R package has no real version lock. I.e., if you get the latest one, you just get the latest one of everything, and that's probably going to work together. Near enough. I'm not going to say 100%, but it's, whereas Python, you more often hit need greater than this, less than that, and actually having to do environment resolution to work out what's consistent and applicable.
One of the easiest ways of figuring out for Python is doing a pip install of what you want and having a look at what is actually installed.
And
check the UV thing.
And then doing a pip freeze. Yeah.
No, check this UV thing because it's a dependency resolver for pip. So.
But can it do it without installing crap?
I am not sure.
I think the metadata just isn't there on PyPy as far as I know.
You have to download and look at. Yeah,
it downloads.
You have to download the Python package, extract it, and then you can look at the data that you find out which other packages you need to download and do it over and over again.
Yeah. Wait, Sam.
Yeah, I contributed a script which basically does this. It creates a temporary virtual environment, installs the stuff, and then uses the pip dep tree to figure out what you need to put into your easy config.
So it would be better if that's actually integrated into EasyBuild somehow as an option. No.
Yeah, it integrates pretty much already. So it calls EasyBuild.
But it's a standalone script. Yeah, we
Yeah,
should just
it's
push
a
it
standalone
underneath.
script, which is on top of EasyBuild.
Yeah.
So it actually calls EasyBuild to, for example, get the environment in which to create the virtual environment. Yes, in the framework scripts folder or so.
So who's concerned about EasyBuild 5? Is it scaring you that you'll have to? Yeah, Jasper is, because he's losing too much time on it, I guess. Because we do want to make it as easy as possible for people to make the jump. What we don't want to have, and we saw a little bit of that with EasyBuild 4, is that people like drag their feet and try to stick to the EasyBuild 3 or 4 release. Whatever we can do to avoid that, we're definitely going to do. So if there's ideas there, they're also very welcome.
The thing I'm most worried about is the RPod, because we don't use it.
Yeah, that's trivial, because there we can just flip the default again. You can just tell EasyBuild RPod false, and that's it. So that
Yeah,
that's
but-
only changing your configuration. That should be very easy if you're worried about that.
Yeah, but we don't want to deviate too much from the default, because that also creates issues, I guess.
It depends. There's many people here that have opted into RPod a long time ago and are very happy with it.
And will EasyBuild continue testing without RPod?
Yeah, probably yes.
I think
Especially in the short term, because we know that many people will probably keep it off.
I think also my plan is probably that at some point I will have some cut where all the older tool chains. So we split out my tool chains when I go into one specific tool chain generation. I do all those installs with one set of config. And so what I'll probably do is go, all the older ones will stick with no RPath, with RPath disabled. And at some point, I will just build it. When I build the new stack, I will do that with RPath, specifically for that sort of reason of not ending up in a mixed stack, but also giving myself a convenient point where I can do the jump. Which also means that I'll be naturally doing some testing for the next few years, probably.
We're likely going to, I think, switch in the middle of 7, 8 tool chains at the same time.
You're going to, sorry?
Switch to RPath on the already existing tool chains.
Yeah.
Not recompiling anything.
No, and that should actually work.
Yeah.
That's something we're definitely trying to make sure that it works. That with EasyBuild 5, you will not have to reinstall everything you have. You can just switch to EasyBuild 5 on top of what's already there and just go ahead. And yeah, whatever problems pop up, we will try and fix. There may be some, especially if you're mixing RPath and non-RPath, but that should work. Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to support. But Sam made a good point that we should make sure we keep testing in the non-RPath configuration. Like one of the bots has to keep testing with non-RPath. So that's something.
But yeah, but I mean, that's again back to we need to be doing more testing and understanding.
Yeah, we need to come up with a good set of test configurations.
Yeah, we
and
need
an
more
easier
bots.
way of enabling them.
Yeah. If anyone has questions on playing with EasyBuild 5, let us know. If you're trying something that doesn't work and you expect it to work, we're interested to hear that. Now is a very good time to do that. Throughout this whole week, by the way, if you're playing with something maybe while watching talks, that's allowed.
Yeah,
and they just
you're
want to
only allowed
discuss
to
it with us.
play during nighttime.
Sorry?
You're only allowed to play during nighttime.
Or nighttime as well. Yeah, sure. Who sleeps?
It's first thing tomorrow morning when you can play. Not sure who's talking first tomorrow.
You want to say something about this, or?
That's just the demonstration of the download instructions, which is, you know, one of those features I quite like. The other bit I'm intending but haven't yet actually added is because, well, I'm not sure whether Kenneth has rich enabled in that environment, probably not because there, but also some use of colored or formatting via rich to make that even nicer or more obvious. But that's not enabled in that command yet. But you know, but that's not just for that command. That's for the output is, you know, better use of color and you know, other features Rich has to do with making things a bit more obvious where it's available.
How many people here are using Rich already in combination with EasyBuild? Who's not? Everybody else? Okay, then I want to show you what it does. You don't like it?
Yeah.
You don't like colors?
Black and white. Everything's black and white.
So if you're downloading stuff, for example, it's going to show you. It did show you download progress, but it's why is it so quick here? Okay. And I need something bigger. No, it found it already. Hold on. I don't want to force the download. Like this. So it's gonna show you what it's downloading, how many things it needs to download, and then show you progress bar on that. So that's pretty nice. And also when it does an installation, it's going to show you how many things it still needs to install. And in the case of extensions, let me just make sure I'm not messing up something here. This is just in my own personal account, so I can't really break something. If it's doing an installation, we could actually add more colors, not only to download instructions, but also to other stuff. Yeah, you'll just get better feedback here, like how many steps is it doing, and when it hits the extensions, you'll see another progress bar popping up as well. So it just helps a lot. Who? Bart?
Yeah.
Online?
How do you combine Rich with -- job?
If you can't. Yeah. If you're not looking at your terminal, it's useless. Yeah. It actually, I think does it disable Rich? I think Rich is pretty intelligent in knowing when it makes sense and it doesn't. So if it's in a headless environment, it probably just disables itself essentially. I've never really seen it getting in the way.
So the question is whether we can add an extra functionality on top that tells you what jobs have completed and what you've.
To me, that's a different tool.
That's a different. Yeah, that's probably a good argument. I mean,
it's called SQ.
Yeah.
But there may be tools that do it already.
I'll ask the Slurm developers.
But Bart said he had to set Python unbuffered to monitor it during -- job.
He had to set Python unbuffered?
Yeah, because the buffering kills Rich.
It kills Rich in the Slurm job.
Not kills, but kills the continuous output.
Okay. Oh, we've actually seen that, right? And empty job output files. That may be why. Okay.
We see that in testbot as well. We only get the output at the end.
Open an issue on that part. We should fix that.
Or a PR to fix it.
Or a PR to fix it. Yeah. Okay.
It must be the middle of his workday, so.
I'm not actually. Can we opt into that? I'm not entirely sure.
Well, I'm assuming it's you tell Rich. We probably just need to tell Rich to better detect.
We can figure it out. Okay. Maybe I should show something with run shell command as well.
Well, that's using.
Yeah, okay.
That's using it.
Yeah, some of the output here at least. So what I should show you what you get if you're not using it, I guess. Ooh, now it's going for La La Land. So let's see what happens. Go away. I can hide this. Let me just show you the difference between EasyBuild 4 and 5, and you can tell us whether it's better or not, or if there's room for further improvements. I'll just run the exact same thing. Almost the exact same thing. Why is it not picking up the whole thing? Come on. Don't want to step this thing. Make sure these things don't step on each other's toes. So I'll set the different prefix. At least build path, that should be enough. Let me pause this one so I can actually compare it at the same point. So because we're using run shell command internally, some of the output, the trace output at least of EasyBuild will change a bit as well. So when it gets to the point where it's actually running the configure, you'll see the difference. So here, this is the new output where it tells you when it started and where it's working and where the output is. So you will always get this. With EasyBuild 4, you will not always get this, and it's a bit less organized.
And the extra bit about the env.sh and the command.sh will be an extra line in that at some point once we merge. I think it's an extra line at the end, but just running off to the back.
In which directory are actually the env.shell and command.shell? Is it in the log or is it in the build directory?
I have no.
It's in a separate temporary directory, and EasyBuild will print you the paths where you can find it. So if a shell command fails, certainly then, but maybe always, and Michael knows the details. EasyBuild will just tell you, look in this directory for output of the command and scripts where you can easily jump into that shell. Yeah, right now it's not there because I'm not using that branch.
Yeah, from what I remember, I think that currently it says output save to, blah, 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 and that gets replaced with output and environment, blah, like get saved to there, and then there's a separate subdirectory for the environment scripts.
Let me try and show it, see what happens. How quickly I'll shoot myself in the foot.
The reason I'm asking is currently the log files in our installation go in one directory, which is actually on our login node, and the build directory is dev shared memory on the build node. So I need to specify that directory as an environment variable on the build node where you build it, not on the login node where you.
Yeah, it's a temporary directory on the worker node, but you can reconfigure EasyBuild to use a different temp there. Yeah.
That is the reason I'm asking. It will become clear a little bit better tomorrow.
But yeah, you already have the necessary configuration options to change that. No, I don't want to do this. Let's see if I got this right. So now I'm messing up my virtual env totally. Don't do this if you're not sure what you're doing. And now I actually want to. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be wrapping up soon. If anyone has questions, now's the time.
Sorry, I'm standing in the road.
All right. I just want to try and do a quick demo of the dropping into a shell thing. I'm not sure I've had things set up correctly, but let's see what happens.
Which I should have read properly, but I thought it went to multiple.
Yeah, maybe I did. Where is he telling me I got it wrong?
Zoom, I think. Yeah.
Are we gonna start walking over to the other side?
You know what? I'll just.
So you don't get dropped into it automatically. The files are there, and you just then.
Yeah, no. You have to run the script to drop.
Yeah, Control C to exit, and then just run the script. As long as you're not temp directories on failure or anything like that, always you quit. I don't know that, maybe we do. Yeah, because I'm not counting that. I mean, literally.
Let's just see if I got this right. What did Mikhail say? It's only going to drop the script.
Well, his comment is you don't need to be
Ah,
broken. You can just
here. Yeah, here it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what's going to be different. Yorg, here, it's going to tell you where the stuff is saved. If it gets to something meaningful, I can stop it. Yeah, here. So I can now cancel it and check what's in here. And in here you have these scripts. And if you run the env script, no, the command script. Yeah. This drops you in a shell where you can arrow up and you get the configure command. And this also has all the environment variables set that EasyBuild sets. So here you can easily play around. Yeah. Sorry, Sam? No, so the command.shell uses the env.shell, I think. Yeah, you have to be a bit careful where. See, it uses this as a input to the bash shell. You can source this directly as well and then only play with that. But the command.shell also drops you into the right working directory. Correct working directory, correct environment, and you get the command, you just arrow up and you have the correct command. That's one of the things that the new run shell command easily enables us to implement. And the old run command is just, no, I wouldn't start with it. So that's one of the reasons we're doing all this effort to port away. Yeah.